burned off his face, white t-shirt, completely charred. I was born into it. I've been a drag kid my entire life. As a drag kid, you see the wild, crazy paint jobs. Naturally, I always hovered towards the ones that had the most outlandish paint jobs on, not knowing anything about paint, anything about art, drawing, or anything. I just had to go look at that.
Ryan Evans never chased the spotlight. While Danny Koker was busy being the loudest personality in the room, Ryan silently built something else entirely. Something most fans never got to see. Now, after all these years, when people finally got a look inside his personal garage, what they found left everyone speechless. And it was nothing like anyone expected. What did they find? And what does it say about the man he is? Join us as we reveal the surprising truth about Ryan Evans's private collection. A small portion he kept for himself. Here is the thing about Ryan Evans that counting cars never quite captured. The man has taste. Not the flashy, look-at-me kind of taste that Las Vegas tends to produce in people who suddenly find themselves on television. Ryan has the kind that isn't easy to fake. The kind that comes from someone who has spent decades developing a genuine relationship with what he creates, rather than just producing things for other people's approval. His personal garage is intentionally small. While Danny Koker has always operated like a man allergic to an empty driveway, Ryan has always preferred a tight, carefully chosen collection where every single car means something specific to him. He wasn't one who just sought out to put whatever he could find in his garage. Unlike some collectors who would spam various failed project cars or even half-finished builds filled with dust, Ryan prefers to park a handful of meaningful machines, each with its own set of complete wheels and stories. Amongst these vehicles in his garage, the car that belongs to the most important chapter of his life is his 1969 Cadillac Coupe de Ville. And the story of how it became what it is says a lot about Ryan's failed relationship with restraint, or more accurately, how hard it is for him to practice restraint when metal is involved. He bought the Cadillac with genuinely humble intentions. It was a rusted, massive old cruiser, and the plan was to keep it exactly that, as a simple daily car. Something to grab groceries in. He even told the Count's Customs crew that he was leaving the aesthetics of the car alone, patching the rust and nothing else. Danny and Kevin Mack heard that and immediately started laughing. They staked $100 between them that Ryan would not last 5 minutes once he started stripping the metal. And they were right within the first afternoon. The moment Ryan got into the bodywork, his painter's brain completely took over, and the grocery car was gone forever. He shaved the door handles entirely, chopped the front end, installed a custom floating phantom grille with hidden headlights, and basically retouched any and everything else. Even the sound system, which was originally created to hold cereal, ended up being replaced by a sound system. What began as a budget-friendly option evolved into one of the most eye-catching custom show cars in Las Vegas. And that is Ryan Evans in a single story. He genuinely cannot leave something alone once he sees what it could become. That quality is precisely why he is one of the best custom painters in the country, and also why his grocery runs probably take significantly longer than they should. The second car in his garage is completely different from this Cadillac. It is his 1969 Chevrolet Chevelle SS, which is more of a personal object than anything else. It is not like his other cars that he had to personally upscale, and perhaps it is its history that caused Ryan to hold it in a tier above the others. Ryan grew up in a military family, which meant they constantly relocated before the family eventually settled in Killeen, Texas. Because he moved really frequently as a kid, he lost the things that grounded him. Friends, neighborhoods, schools, all of it kept changing. But one thing stayed constant across every move: the family car. And that car was the same type with his. a 1969 Chevelle. Ryan has joked for years that his mother went into labor while riding in one, which gave him his signature line about almost being born in a '69 Chevelle. And perhaps that is why he went through extra lengths to retain this car. Long before television, before Las Vegas, and before Count's Customs, Ryan owned another 1969 Chevelle that he loved. When he made the decision in 1996 to leave Texas and move to Los Angeles to pursue custom car culture seriously, he had to sell it just to fund the move and keep himself alive while he figured things out. That sacrifice plagued his mind every day, not leaving him even after years. Years later, after living in the loft above the Count's Customs shop and working his way up to becoming one of the most respected painters in the industry, Ryan bought another replacement 1969 Chevelle. And that is another reason why it still sits in his garage. Aside from it being a symbol of his childhood, it now serves as proof that he overcame all and made it. The rest of his personal collection features custom choppers and motorcycles, which makes complete sense considering his roots. Looking back to the past, Ryan was hired in the year 2000, a time when Count's Customs was primarily a chopper shop. Danny brought him on specifically because the garage was in desperate need of a master bike painter. Airbrushing motorcycles in his parents' garage in Texas was where Ryan first developed his skills, and keeping a few heavily flamed bikes in his personal rotation keeps him connected to the beginning of his journey. The fleet stays small because currently his life does not have room for anything larger. Perhaps if another major event happens, but for now, nothing. He stays, working diligently as an artist who prioritizes his feeling for emotion and art over everything else. And that philosophy has shown up in everything he touches, including 3 of his builds that the industry still talks about. A trilogy of builds that defined him. Count's Customs has a specific personality, and it did not arrive by accident. Long before the History Channel cameras showed up, Danny Koker had built the shop's identity around a local late-night horror show persona he performed under the name Count Cool Rider, a biker vampire with a deep love for Elvis Presley and a fondness for theater. When Ryan was asked to create a tribute to that piece of shop history, what he produced became one of the most celebrated vehicles the garage has ever turned out. He took a square-body 1981 Chevrolet C10 van and turned it into something that felt pulled directly out of a 1970s custom van culture time capsule. Apart from the deep burgundy and black tones across the body, the part that made people stop and stare the most is the massive hyper-realistic Gothic vampire murals painted across both sides. Ryan spent days under studio lights painting haunting imagery, with dripping blood accents and shadow work so detailed it looked dimensional. The van became an instant mascot for the shop. It captured everything Count's Customs represented: the dark humor, the rock and roll attitude, and the craftsmanship beneath all the disorder. Till today, Ryan still cites it as one of his favorite projects across his entire career. Before the vampire van and television, Ryan was a young painter in Texas working out of a tiny garage tucked behind a window tint shop, building his reputation one motorcycle at a time. It was during those years that he developed and perfected a technique called true fire, and it became his signature in the custom world. Most traditional custom shops painted hot rod flames with hard masked edges, clean, cartoonish, and recognizable. But Ryan went in a completely different direction. Using transparent candy paints and custom airbrush work, he learned to replicate the look of actual organic fire licking off a surface. Flames that, instead of looking painted, they looked like the metal itself was burning. One of his most celebrated early executions of this technique involved a custom chopper where he blended American flag graphics seamlessly into true fire, rising off a blacked-out background. The results stopped people mid-stride at a show and announced Ryan Evans as someone operating at a level most custom painters only aspire to reach. As his reputation grew, so did his ambitions, eventually pushing him toward a challenge most painters never seriously consider. For a custom artist, the hardest canvas is not a rare car. It is an aircraft. The scale, the weight restrictions dictated by aviation safety, and the complexity of the aerodynamic surfaces, all of it makes painting a helicopter an entirely different category of difficulty. However, Ryan had talked about it for years as a bucket list item. And when a helicopter eventually rolled into the Count's Customs paint booth, he wasted no time in trying to answer his questions. That was when he proved his graphics could flow on something that moves through the sky. A proof that his skills had no ceiling. He has never slacked in any area of his craftsmanship. His various celebrity builds also deserve their own conversation, and not just because of the names attached to them. When Dee Snider of Twisted Sister brought in a rare 1961 Dodge Dart, a car already famous for its bizarre reversed rear fins and unconventional styling, Ryan treated it like a heavy metal album cover. He added a deep, shimmering black base, sharp red graphics, and fine pinstriping calibrated to match Dee's stage energy exactly. The reveal reportedly made Dee Snider so happy that she bragged about it again and again. Drummer Tommy Lee of Mötley Crüe came next with a ground-up custom chopper commission. A bike that needed to look spectacular under stadium lights, while Tommy Lee rides it like the rebel he is. Ryan seamlessly merged brutalist aesthetics with a show-quality finish, blending deep gloss black coatings alongside raw metal textures and razor-sharp pinstripes. Actualizing a rock star's highly specific vision without losing the soul of the bike required a delicate balancing act, one that other builders would find genuinely stressful. The Alice Cooper project was the one that showed something different. When Alice, a serious classic car collector, brought in his 1963 Studebaker Avanti, the brief was not like any other. It was extremely sophisticated. He wanted something that carried a subtle, sinister edge, without leaning on the expected horror rock cliches. While the other team members watched with confusion, Ryan understood the assignment completely. So to fulfill this, instead of skulls and fake blood, Ryan mixed a custom paint shade that looked clean and elegant under normal lighting, but revealed a deep, aggressive undertone the moment it hit direct desert sunlight. This creativity wasn't lost on the collector. Alice Cooper recognized it wholeheartedly and became a long-term supporter of the shop as a result. Today, the Avanti remains a reference point in the industry for how to paint a vehicle for many others who might also be confused. His career was expanding rapidly, and these builds built his reputation. But what came next almost took it apart. The Count Customs dispute that almost ended him. He had his fair share of problems during his television career, and the main event happened in 2017. While the cameras were rolling and the engines were running, something was quietly going wrong inside the accounting offices of Count's Customs. An internal audit launched by Danny Koker revealed that a behind-the-scenes accountant named Joseph Frontiera had been stealing from the company. He stole a lot, approximately dividing $75,000 towards a personal Range Rover, down payment, and first-class airline tickets. On top of that, Frontiera had entirely neglected the shop's payroll taxes, triggering an $18,000 IRS penalty that put the entire operation at risk of a federal shutdown. Danny fired him immediately and launched a lawsuit against both Frontiera and Randstad Professionals, the global staffing firm that had placed him there. Added investigations also revealed that Frontiera already had a hidden history of embezzlement charges that the firm had failed to disclose. To pull the whole thing off while the crew was busy filming on the floor, he had custom signature stamps made with Danny and Kevin Mack's names, authorizing fraudulent checks while nobody was watching. This part of the story is bad enough on its own, but what made it worse for Ryan was what happened when it hit the internet. Looking for a popular face to attach to the headlines, multiple news outlets and crime blogs pulled a photo of Ryan Evans and placed it directly beneath sensational titles about embezzlement and IRS fraud. Millions of viewers globally saw Ryan's face associated with federal theft. His on-screen appearances had fluctuated during that filming period due to off-camera paint demands, which gave the mistaken identity story just enough backing to spread. In the custom car world, where elite clients trust painters with vehicles worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, this kind of accusation could end his career. The shop had to fight back publicly. Horny Mike got in front of a camera and explicitly called out the media's laziness. Danny stepped up and defended Ryan directly. The narrative was corrected eventually, and Danny even had to change numerous fundamentals on how the shop was run. But the internet kept asking questions anyway. The reality most fans didn't want to accept. When a long-running television show ends without a dramatic finale, the internet fills the silence with whatever story fits the algorithm best. Because Ryan's on-screen presence fluctuated toward the end of Counting Cars, theories multiplied fast. He had fought Danny over loans. He had quit to open a rival shop in Las Vegas. He had jumped to American Restoration. Each version more dramatic than the last, and none of them remotely true. Ryan had not gone anywhere. His reduced screen time was a direct result of off-camera workload, which had always been significant, combined with shifting production schedules. He has addressed it publicly and repeatedly. And Danny has done the same, but it didn't stop the clickbait content from mutating into something else. Typing Ryan's name into a search engine today still surfaces YouTube thumbnails implying tragedy, fatal accidents, and career-ending disasters. None of it is real. Some of it is also entirely a mistake, as his digital footprint often gets mixed up with that of a British military advisor also named Ryan Evans, who was killed in Ukraine, a completely separate person with no connection to Las Vegas or custom cars. The rest is manufactured for clicks. Ryan ignores almost all of it. He posts process videos, paint setups, and event appearances, and lets the actual work do the talking. When the cameras finally left for good, what remained was the work. And without the pressure of production schedules and staged drama, the work got better than ever. Life after the lights. Counting Cars ended quietly on December 1st, 2021. There was no official cancellation announcement from the History Channel or a dramatic farewell episode. Season 10 simply wrapped up, and Season 11 never materialized. COVID-19 had already complicated production significantly. Sourcing vintage parts also became difficult, and as a result, tourism revenue and merchandise sales took a massive hit. Danny launched a raw YouTube series called Counts Culture to document the unpolished struggles of keeping the shop open. After 10 seasons, the core crew was exhausted by the strain of performing for cameras rather than just doing their jobs. Ryan, in particular, welcomed the end of the broadcast era. It removed the constant artificial pressure to rush his work to meet network deadlines. Without camera crews, the shop returned to what it had always been underneath: an elite custom garage doing serious work for serious clients. Ryan shifted from being constantly on display to operating freely at his own pace. Beyond the builds, he became a genuine mentor figure inside the shop, shaping the next generation of custom painters through an old-school, uncompromising philosophy. He made sure the new set of apprentices did not start with candy colors or airbrush work. Instead, they spent months doing nothing but sanding, masking, priming, and cleaning. Ryan believes a flawless paint job is 90% preparation. If someone cannot prep a panel perfectly, they do not touch the color coats. He teaches hand-turned gold leafing, silver leafing, complex geometric panel painting, and custom toner mixing from scratch using House of Koker chemistry. These techniques are disappearing in an era of digital vinyl wraps, but Ryan refuses to let the analog craftsmanship die. His relationship with Danny has only deepened. Surviving a television run, a financial scandal, and a pandemic together produced an unbreakable bond. Danny has stepped into an executive role, leaving the paint department entirely to Ryan, with complete trust and zero micromanagement. They still travel together to major trade shows like SEMA, representing the garage as a unified front. Right now, Ryan lives in Las Vegas with his wife, Dana Pauly, and their 3 children. His net worth is estimated between $1 and $5 million, built from his television salary, his executive role at the shop, and endorsement deals with House of Koker. Yet, he still wears his trademark sleeveless shirts, baggy work shorts, paint-stained boots, and still keeps his fleet at the number that it is. He spends his money on something worthwhile, constantly pouring it back into his family and his steely obsessions. His highest professional recognition came when he won Airbrush Action Magazine's Best in Show award at SEMA for the 1973 Buick Riviera boat tail. Today, his on-screen masking techniques from the show still function as a digital masterclass for younger painters. He remains open to a television return, but only on terms that respect the actual slow pace of real craftsmanship. Ryan remains exactly where he needs to be, in the same booth, mixing toner by hand and letting his flawless art speak for itself. So what side were you on before? Did you believe in the rumors about him getting fired? And do you think he has a hidden stash of cars somewhere? Or just the ones mentioned are enough? Share your thoughts with us in the comments section. Remember to like, share, and subscribe for more. Also, click the next video showing on your screen. You will enjoy it.